شغال. That's money. Guys in the back, whether you come forward or I'll come to you. Come on. You're going to be my assistant. All right, give me a sign when you're ready. Everybody in the back. I still can hear some voices in the back. All right, I think we're ready. Thank you. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا ثم أما بعد. I have a slight problem that I need your help with. It's because the age between the group there is a big gap between the ages of everyone in this room. It's going to be very hard to facilitate the topic to make it simple for everybody to understand. So what I need from you guys is to make it an interactive. When you have a question, you raise your hand and ask. When I ask a question, I need everybody to participate and raise their hand. Fair enough? So the topic is not complicated, but it's a main source of building a character in the community, creating a balance in your life. And the idea behind it is to create a personality that contribute to the community. So before we start, let me ask a question. What is the main character that make a personality, let's say a good Muslim in the community? What's the main character from your view? It doesn't have to be something that you heard from an imam or parents. What is something that make you a good person before you become a Muslim? Just a good person in general. Yes, go ahead.
Like being nice to people and pray and stuff.
Being nice to people.
You're loyal to your religion. You're loyal to your religion.
Being loyal to your religion, being a good Muslim, and being nice. Yes. Actions. What do you mean by actions? I like that one. That one is a key, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Why?
The way you talk to people, the way you treat people.
The way you treat people and the way you act around people. What controls your actions? So when you're around people, you act in a certain way, right? There are two things that contribute into building your actions. What controls your actions in public? Yes? Thinking before you do anything. That's a strategy. It doesn't control your action, but it's a good strategy to use when you react in public. Yes? Contributing and giving money to other people, not just money. Which one you want? Okay. So the reason I said action is very important, there's two different things that contribute into your personality. Your feelings and your actions, right? Ustad Ammar. Your belief contributing to that as well. But the actions are controlled by your feelings, right? So to have a strong personality, to know how to control yourself, you have to be able to distinguish between your feelings and your actions. Because most of the times, your actions are not actions. They're just reactions to your feelings, right? And there are normal things that people do when they have certain feelings. So, for example, when you're sad, what do people do when they're sad? They cry, right? They stay inside by themselves. What do they do when they're happy?
Smile.
They laugh, they smile, right? They go out. What do you do when you're mad? Yes. When you're mad, what do?
You don't talk to people, you just stay alone.
You don't talk to people, you stay alone. So to become a strong person, you have to know the difference between your feelings and your actions. Because your actions are only reactions to your feelings, right? So if you feel in a certain way, you're going to react to the way you feel. I'm sorry, I just flipped down. So how do I control my reactions? What do I do to control my reactions? The first thing you need to do, before you guys raise your hand, the first thing you need to do is to know your strengths and weaknesses. You have to know which area you're strong in. Because once you know that, you'll be able to control it, right? So I need one of you to tell me what is your strength. What's the most thing that you feel you're strong, you could control yourself with? And I'll give you an example. One of my strengths as a school administrator and as a community member is I'm patient. I don't get mad. I mean, I will walk into the masjid and there is a fire there, I will be walking calmly. I'll try my best not to panic. That's my strength. And I'm telling you that's my strength because I practice that. I've been through a lot and I try always to control my actions to make sure my actions reflect a quiet personality. So I need you guys to tell me what your strengths are. And I need you to be reflective. I need you to think about your personality. What is the most strong thing that you feel in your personality as a Muslim or as a student or, I know.
I be patient, and when people talk to me, I be calm.
Perfect. He doesn't talk back. So this guy knows how to control his reactions, right? Because one of the most important things that get people into trouble nowadays is responding to other people around you, right? I'll give you an example. How many of you have Instagram? Raise your hand. Whatever social media you have, raise your hand. I have that, so it's not shame to have it. I just want to know. How many of you have seen these channels that always published fights in schools? I've seen a lot of them, right? People will be waiting there. As long as people are fighting, they grab their phones, they record it, they put it on social media, right? So let me ask you this. I need you to remember one of those fights that you've seen. And the two people that get into a fight, what was their feelings at that moment? Yes?
Angry.
They were angry. And they were trying to prove something, right? What are they trying to prove? Yes. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear it. What? Yes, they were trying to prove that they're better than someone else, right? So they jump into a fight to prove something to others, right? What happens after the fight? What is the first thing that happens after the fight? Let me just grab some candy. And I'm sorry, sometimes for those of you who are a little older, I'm trying to make it as simple as I can so the younger people will benefit from the discussion as well. So what happens after the fight? They get in trouble, and people that recorded also get in trouble. Now, that trouble could be in different levels. They could get suspended or they could get expelled from school, right? Now, let me ask you. They could get hurt. And actually, I've seen some people get hurt in some of these fights that happens on the street. I've seen a fight that I was standing, walking the street, seen two people jumping into a fight. Kids jump out of cars, start to record, and one of them took the other person, slamming the floor. He got fracture in his back, and he was in the hospital for a while. Was it worth it? Was it worth it? Now, let me ask you this. Why would that person, at the moment of the fight, why wasn't that person thinking about the consequences? They were thinking about just proving that they're better, right? At what? At fight. After the fight, do you think those two people that get into a fight, are they better or bad? Everybody will say they're bad, right? That's a common sense. Why wouldn't they think about it when they were at the moment, when they were at the fight? What contributed to that thinking? Yes? Okay, let me ask the question in a different way. Who were they trying to impress during the fight? When they were fighting, they were trying to prove something to somebody, right? They were trying to prove they're tough, right? Who were they trying to prove that to? Yes?
The people around them.
The people. Who are the people around them at that moment? Their friends, right? Now, do you think their friends care about them at that moment? Or were they trying to create something to talk about? This is not a question, it's just some information. So don't raise your hand. Their friends were just trying to prove, to have a story to talk about. That's why they go to both of them. They tell both of them to fight. They tell them, oh, they think you're weak. You're gonna let them treat you like that? And then after facts, when both of them are in trouble, what do they say? They're just bad kids. They always get in trouble. They always get into fights, and so on and so on. So the balance in your life that I'm trying to talk about today is to know your surroundings, your strengths, and your weaknesses. If you know the three things, then you're on control. You're not following people. You are in charge of yourself, right? What do I mean by that? So What I mean by that is, if you know that you get mad easy, you have anger problems, right? A lot of us have that, and some of you already know they get mad easy. People get into you in a very easy way, right? If you know that this is your weaknesses, what do? You avoid being in a situation that triggers that, right? And as Muslims, we were taught by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that if we get mad, what do? Yes. Calm down. How do we calm down? There is a specific thing that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us to do when we're mad. And this is open for anybody. Yes?
Walk away.
Make him mumtaz, walk away. The first thing Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us is, and here's your candy, I know you're mad about it. The first thing Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us that if you get mad in any situation, change the way you are. So if you're sitting, stand up. If you're standing, sit down, right? If you're standing in the middle of a street and you get mad, what do? Walk away. And that's what they taught you in school, in kindergarten. The first thing your teachers will tell you is what? Walk away, right? When there is a situation, what do? Walk away. And that teachings was taught by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam 1400 years ago, a long time ago. He taught us that if you're mad, change your situation. And yes, make wudu. Why do we make wudu when we're mad? Because shaitan always leaves when you make wudu. So we believe as Muslims that there is another instigator in our life, and that's shaitan instigate us to do something bad. So when we get mad, the first thing to do is to walk away. Now let me move into a different side of the discussions. We're Muslims, right? We live in America. We have values in our life that we value, right? We appreciate people that come to the masjid. We come to the masjid because we believe what? Being in the masjid makes you a better person, right? Making your salah get you closer to Allah, right? But then we go to school, we see other people who are not Muslims, or maybe Muslims that are not practicing Islam. Now what do? We compare ourselves to them. They have better shoes than us. Maybe they have better clothes than us. But we have something better than them. We pray 5 times a day. We come to the masjid. We join the Quran school, right? So we have values. Now between what you have and what they have, here comes a problem. A lot of us fall into the comparison. We get in there and we start comparing ourselves to them. The moment you start comparing yourself to others is the moment you fall down. Because your values are valuable to you and to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They must be the most important thing in your life, right? But once you start comparing yourself to others, what happens? You lose your balance. Now you're confused a little bit. I'm a good Muslim. I pray 5 times a day. Why don't I get better shoes than them? Oh, because that's not the way it works, my friend. You're praying not because you want Allah to give you things. You're praying because Allah asks you to. You're a servant of Allah. End of discussion. It's not something you give and you get back. You're a good Muslim because Allah asks you to. Now, you come to the masjid and you learn from Shaykh what's halal and what's haram, right? You get to your school and you get mixed with other people. Now, you already know what's haram. If I ask anyone in this room or outside the room, are Muslims okay to date girls? No, we don't date. Muslims don't do datings, right? When you get to school, you get confused a little bit because everybody's doing it. Does that mean it's okay to do? I'll make it simpler. Social media. We all have social media. We know that as Muslims, we're not supposed to text girls or talk to them because that's not something we agree to have for our sisters and family. Yet, when you see everybody do it, that's when your balance starts to shake, right? So, in order to balance your life, you have to know your values. You have to get the most important things in your life ahead of you, and that's your scale. What do you weigh things in your life? You know exactly what's good and what's bad. Now, I promise myself that I'm not going to exceed 20 minutes. In 20 minutes, I'll stop and I'll open it for discussion where you guys ask questions and we have an open discussion. So what happens when you lose your balance? What happens when I'm not really sure at this point, is my religion more important to me or is it to impress my friends? If Islam is asking me not to do things because they're haram and everybody around me is doing it, your balance starts to shake. What happens when you are not imbalanced? Let me get my candy. Well, I just carry the whole bag. I have a request for the older boys. If you please could ask questions and participate just to teach. The younger ones, that would be great. I mean, if you want to. It's just, yes, in the back. Yeah.
So when you are like, do you know when you do something or like if you see someone doing something and they have clothes and everything? I've seen this. You go to your family and say stuff. I want to do that, and then you are why? It's not worth it to waste that much money. If someone has the clothes that is expensive so much, and then you see him, you want to buy. It's not worth it.
Exactly. So the first thing you need to know is to learn what's worth investing your time on and what's not. Once you know that, you'll be able to balance. So I'll tell you one thing. Let me pause the questions for a minute. The first thing you're going to have when you lose your balance is you're going to have some stress in your life, right? Now, for the younger ones, maybe you don't know what stress is, even if you go through it. But for the older people, you know what stress is. You're going to start worrying about things around you. You're going to start worrying about what people think about you, what your friends in school think about you, what your parents think about you. Once you get into that level, that's the beginning of losing your faith. Because once you're stressed, you don't believe in your values anymore. You start worrying about people more than yourself. So one thing you need to focus on, strategies that you could use to improve yourself. The first thing is try to know the difference between winning and succeed. There is a big difference between them. For example, when we play, what was recently the World Cup, the soccer, thank you, that's a good example. When we play soccer, when we score a goal, did we win the game?
No.
But we won the situation itself, right? That moment, we won because we scored a goal. When do we succeed in winning the whole game? Yes? At the end of the game, right? So at the end of the game, that's when you know that you won the game. Same thing with your life. During the situations you go through in your life, you go through situations, different situations. For example, the fight situation. You win the fight during the fight. But did you succeed in winning a long-term goal? No, you just won a situation, right? And at the end of it, you get expelled from school. Did you really win? Or you lose? So that's what I mean by try to learn the difference between winning a situation and successful in your life. If you're in a classroom and you get into an argument with your teacher, or let's forget about the classroom. You're home, you're arguing with your parents, you want to get something and they can't give it to you because whatever is the reason. You argue with them, you get to the point where you're mad and you're yelling at your parents. You might win the situation of the discussion at that time, but what happens in the process? You lost your parents. You lost that relationship with your parents. Same thing with your teachers, people around you. Your life is built on relationships. Without that, it means nothing. Every time you break a relationship with somebody around you, you're losing a connection that contributes into your personality. And that's where you start losing your successful, your path towards success. Now, winning a situation might get you happy, but it's only a short-term happiness because you're happy you won the fight, right? You're happy that that video went viral on social media when you took that guy and slammed him on the floor. But at the end of the day, you get expelled from school. Nobody in the social media knows what happens to you in school. You get punished by your parents. You might lose your stuff. Your dad takes your phone away, your car if you're driving. You might even stay home without school for 1 year. So your friends are already moving to the second grade level and you're stuck on the same grade level. Your ability to differentiate between winning a situation and succeeding in your life will help you control yourself, will help you build your self-esteem. Because at the end of the day, when somebody's trying to push you into something that you don't want to do, are you going to be pushed to it? No, you're not, because you already know what's right and what's wrong. You already know what you want. You already know what your goal is. Once you know what your goal is, it's really hard for other people to get into you. So, few things that we mentioned in the process of what we talk about, I'm just going to summarize it for you in points. First one, Control your reactions. That's a key. If you can't, then you need to find a strategy that would help you to. We mentioned one strategy. What it was? Anybody remember? Yes. No, the strategy to avoid situations.
Walk away.
Walk away. Here's your candy. And who's the other person? You're collecting all the candy tonight. So I'll tell you an example. There was a guy that was always, there was a person that gets mad easy. I know him personally. He used to get into argument all the time. And he was trying to stop it, but he couldn't because that's who he is. So he came up with a good strategy. He called it the 5-minute strategy. He said, every time something annoy me or get me mad, I'm not going to respond for 5 minutes. I'm not going to say anything. I'm mad, but I'm not going to talk back. I'll hold it for 5 minutes. In 5 minutes, if it's worth responding, I will respond. What does 5 minutes do? Calm him down. He forgets about the stress. He's out of the situation, now he's able to maintain. Whatever situation you get yourself into, do not do something that you will regret the second day or the second week. Do not say something that you're going to reflect in the future. Say, I wish I didn't say that. I wish I didn't talk back to my dad. It wasn't worth it. I wish I didn't talk back to my teacher or to whoever I had a problem with. Always take time to think before you react. The other one is control your environment. We talk about it, but I want to get a little deeper in this. What do I mean by control your environment? Ammar. Control your reactions, but I'm talking more about people around you. Yes?
Like the people around you and what they're telling you to do.
Control what people are asking you to do. Yes? Be friend with responsible friends. Here, let me tell you something. One thing I need you guys to learn how to do is always think about what you do, not what people around you do. Because one problem we have in our community, and I have it too, is we always blame our actions on others. For example, why didn't you Salih? Oh, my dad did not remind me. Why? Your dad's not your God. Salah is between you and your God. What does your dad has to do with it? When adhan time comes, you're responsible. So control your environment. Do not wait for your dad to tell you. Instead, if you're thinking about, oh, my family is not nice to me, ask yourself, are you nice to your family? Are you helping your parents? Are you part of a family where you're an active person in the house? Or you go home and play games all day and you want your family to be nice to you. So think, control your environment. Always think you're in charge, not other people around you. When you make a mistake, do not blame it on others. I did it because I'm responsible. I missed my salah because I was busy with my game. That's on me. That's something I need to fix. I spent too much time in games. Oh, because my dad gave me a phone. Also, it's your dad's fault now. We always tend to throw our problems on other people around us. So be responsible and take control of your environment. The other point that we mentioned is flexibility. And what I mean by flexibility is life is not always black and white. Life is not always right and wrong. There is a lot of things in the middle between the right and the wrong, right? So give people a chance. When your dad doesn't give you what you want, it doesn't mean he doesn't like you. Maybe he doesn't have the money to give it to you. Or maybe he doesn't have the time to go buy it for you. Or maybe it's not his priority at this point. He needs to secure food for the family. He needs to make sure your house looks good. Maybe he's helping other family members overseas. There is a lot of things that goes in his life or your mom's life that you're not aware of. So be flexible with them. Give people around you a chance. They need it. The other thing, and this is an important thing to focus about, satisfaction. One of the things that we always go through is we've never satisfied. I need the phone. You get the phone, oh, it's not the new model. I need iPhone 13. I need 14. You always look for something else. Be happy with what you have. Because what you have does not define who you are. It's just materials that you have. Be happy with it. Enjoy it. It doesn't matter what other people have. And one thing that always people talk about in social media, I want you to do something when you go home. Search rich people and find their pictures in public. And I want you to pay attention to what they're wearing. Pick any person, Elon Musk or the guy that created Facebook or the most rich people that could come in your mind. Search them and see. They don't wear Nike shoes. They don't wear the Jordan $250 shoes. They're not wearing the most expensive watch. They're just wearing a normal jeans and a t-shirt. Yeah, they all do that. Why? Because they already know what they want. They're not worried about materials around them. They're satisfied with their life, and that's what you need to have. Be satisfied, be happy with what you have. If you come to the masjid 5 times a day, you need to know that you're one of the best people on the face of the earth, no matter what. And I don't believe that there is anyone else better than you, because Allah Azza wa Jal chose you to be in the masjid 5 times a day, and Allah guide you to do that. When you wake up for Salat al-Fajr and other people sleeping, you need to know that Allah inspired you to wake up. Anybody can wake up, but Allah chooses you to wake up, and that's a big thing. Be happy with that. Take it and fly with that, and say Alhamdulillah all the time that Allah guide you to do that. When you have clothes and food and home to live, those people, even though they might have money in the community that you live in, they may not even have a family to go to. I talk to a lot of people. I'm not talking about kids, I'm talking about teachers, engineers, that haven't been talking to their parents for a few years. Can you imagine what kind of life they're living? You should say Alhamdulillah that you're from this community, that everybody cares about everybody. You go to somebody's house and you see the uncles, the nephews, the fathers, the grandfathers, everybody lives in one area, they see each other. That's a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just having that around you is something big. You see a lot of non-Muslims that commit suicide just because nobody asks or check on them. So be happy, be satisfied with what you have. And the last thing I need to mention is be patient. It takes a lot to be patient. How many of you are familiar with the story of Yusuf alayhi salam? Nabi Allah Yusuf. The story of Yusuf alayhi salam. We all know the story of Yusuf alayhi salam, right? You heard it several times. What is the main theme in Yusuf's story alayhi salam? What is the main thing that the whole story of Yusuf was talking about? Yes.
How he was patient with his brother.
How he was patient with his brother. Who else was patient on that story? Not just Yusuf. A lot of people were patient on that story, yes. His dad was patient. Imagine a dad that lost his son. Good catch. Yes. I don't know if he has a sister. He has brothers, not sister. But his brothers were not patient though. They were the opposite. Yeah. Yunus al-Hut, it's another story also that talks about patient. Yes. I don't know about his grandma. It wasn't mentioned in the Quran. But what I'm trying to say is, put your hands down for a minute. The story of Yusuf alayhi salam was all about being patient with your life. A father that lost his son, he was crying patiently. He didn't kick his kids out of his life. He didn't go out crazy. He was just crying silent. You know how patient that is? A person that was thrown in a family that he doesn't know. And he was very intimidated by a lady. He was very patient to hold himself back and say, Inni akhafu Allah Rabbil Alameen. I'm not going to do the things that you guys do because I believe in Allah and Allah chose me for a reason. He was thrown in jail for years. He didn't go out and say, she tried to come to me, I didn't run behind her, I shouldn't be in jail. No, he was patient. Why? Because he knew that Allah Azza wa Jal chose a reason for him to be in jail. He was put in there for a reason. It wasn't random. That happens to you too. Everything that goes in your life is there for a reason. Nothing is random in your life. When you don't have a phone, you need to know Allah Azza wa Jal didn't write it for you to get a phone, because maybe if you have a phone, it's going to change the way you act and the way you feel. Allah chooses you to be with this family for a reason. Allah chooses you to live in this environment for a reason. You need to know and trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and be patient. All these stories in the Quran, and the majority of them, are talking about patience and connecting between the creator of the heavens and earths and you as a human. There is that formula that connects you to Allah Azza wa Jal, and in the process there's too many things that comes into your life. There's your parents, your friends, your family, your school, everything that comes in the process. And when that happens, you might lose that vision. You might not see that far to see that you're going toward Allah Azza wa Jal. You need to keep that in your mind all the time. I'm going to pause because my time is done. We're going to leave about 9 minutes for questions and answers. Sheikh Yasser, 9 minutes is good, or you need? Okay. So we're going to do 9 minutes for questions and answers. If you have a question, ask. I know I'm almost running out of candy, but we'll try to. Yes. Oh, thank you. How many One's translation in Arabic. Okay. طيب I'm gonna take few minutes just to go over it in Arabic. So التوازن في حياة الشخص أمر مهم. يخلق التوازن في حياة الإنسان من أمرين رئيسيين، الأمر الأول مشاعر الإنسان، والأمر الثاني ردة فعل الإنسان لهذه المشاعر. ردة الفعل عند الغضب، عند السعادة، عند الحزن، كلها من الأشياء اللي تتحكم بشخصية الإنسان وكيف تبنى. شخصية الإنسان تتأثر بثلاثة أشياء، الاثنين اللي ذكرناها، المشاعر وردة الفعل، أيضا البيئة المحيطة بالإنسان. البيئة المحيطة بالإنسان تساهم في خلق شخصية الإنسان. إذا استطاع الإنسان أن يتحكم بالأمرين الرئيسيين، المشاعر وردة الفعل، يستطيع الإنسان أن يتحكم بالبيئة المحيطة فيه. من الأمور المهمة، طبعا ذكرنا للطلاب مثال الذي يقع في خصام في المدرسة ويدخل في يعني مضاربة مع شخص معين في المدرسة. في وقت المضاربة نفسها ينسى الهدف الرئيسي من ذهابه إلى المدرسة، ويحاول أن يثبت لأصدقائه في المدرسة أنه قوي وأنه قادر على أنه يتغلب على أصحابه. استطاع أنه يبهر أصحابه مؤقتا في اللحظة التي هو فيها، فلما تجاوزها أتت العقوبات التي خلتها يندم على الاختيار الذي اختاره في البداية. فكان من الأمور الذي وضحناها للشباب أن يعرفوا الفرق بين مشاعرك وبين ردة فعلك. إذا استطعت أن تفرق بين مشاعرك وردة فعلك تستطيع أن تتحكم بردة الفعل، حتى لا تكون يعني ردة فعلك مبنية على المشاعر، بل تكون مبنية على الحقائق التي تراها أو الحقائق التي من أجلها تبنى. أيضا تكلمنا على أن السعادة قد تأتي بالأمور الصغيرة مؤقتا، لكنها بالهدف البعيد قد تجعل الإنسان يخسر الكثير إذا ركز عليها. الأمور التي تكلمنا فيها للشباب أن يركزوا عليها، أولا أن يتحكم بردة الفعل، وتكلمنا على سنة الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم عند الغضب، إن كان واقف يقعد أو يعني يخرج نفسه من الوضعية اللي هو فيها، وأيضا بعض الاستراتيجيات اللي ممكن يستخدمها. أيضا أن يتعرف الإنسان على مراكز القوة والضعف عنده. إذا عرفت مركز الضعف عندك تستطيع أن تتحكم فيه. على سبيل المثال الإنسان، ذكرنا للشباب، الكثير من الشباب عندهم مشكلة الغضب السريع، يعني واحد يتكلم يغضب. إذا كان الإنسان عارف أن هذه نقطة ضعفه، إذن يتجنب أن يضع نفسه في مواقف تجعله يغضب بسرعة. أيضا أن يتحكم البيئة المحيطة فيه. من المشاكل الكبيرة التي يواجهها الإنسان في المجتمع الأمريكي أننا نتعلم أن نرمي أخطاءنا على الآخرين. وذكرنا من الأمثلة أن مثلا الشاب الذي تسأله ليش ما يصلي الفجر يقول لك بما يصحيني، وكأن الله عز وجل وكله يعني بقيام صلاة الفجر. لابد أن الإنسان يكون مسؤول عن أفعاله. الصلاة بينك وبين الله عز وجل، لم نفسك، ما قمتش لأنني تكاسلت عنها، لأنني سهرت في الليل أو لعبت أو كذا. يعني الأمر المهم أن الإنسان يتحمل نتيجة الأشياء الذي يقوم بها ولا يرمي أخطاءه على الآخرين. أيضا من الأشياء المهمة اللي ذكرناها للشباب قضية الليونة في التعامل. إن الله يحب كل لين. نعم. الأب يربي. نعم. نعم.
من الله سبحانه وتعالى.
نعم، لكن الأب مساعد. يعني أنا أقول لك
يعني يكون على الشخص فيما بعد
1000%. أنا أقول لك شيئين مهمين من الأشياء، من المفاهيم الخاطئة في مجتمعنا إحنا. أولا، إذا وصل الشاب إلى سن البلوغ فهو مكلف أمام الله عز وجل وليس الأب مكلف. إذا وصل الشاب، يعني سن البلوغ عندنا في الدين 13 14 تقريبا، إذا وصل إلى سن الحلم، وصل الإنسان إلى سن البلوغ، هو مكلف أمام الله عز وجل. مشكلتنا أن إحنا نشتي نربي لما يوصل 19. إذا وصل سن الحلم هو مكلف. الأصل أن الابن يبدأ يربي نفسه في هذا السن ويكون مسؤول. قبلها على الأب. نعم. الدين
داخل وخارج.
أي بس ما يكونش
وحسابه على الله.
هذا 1000%، بس ما يكونش السبب يلوم. يعني لا يكون الولد يلوم أبوه أنه ما صحاش وأنه لابد أن الولد يتعلم أنه هو المسؤول. الأمر الثاني أنه الأب، يعني الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم لما أوصى بتعليم الأولاد الصلاة في السن 7 إلى سن 10، هذا سن التربية، هذا سن التدريب. بعدها بعد سن 10 يبدأ الشاب بدخول في سن الحلم والبلوغ وكذا. إذا بلغ الشاب فهو مكلف أمام الله عز وجل. من مشاكلنا احنا الاجتماعية ان احنا اولا يعني نحس ان الله الطفل الى سن ال 18، وهذا مشكله يواجهها المجتمع الامريكي اللي نحن عايشين فيه. والامر الثاني ان احنا سن المراهقه وعاملين له في دين الله عز وجل المكلف مكلف سواء كان مراهق او مش مراهق. الله عز وجل لما بلغ يعني لما يبلغ الشاب سن الحلم هو مكلف بشرائع الله سواء راهق او ما راهق. قضيه المراهقه ليست عذر لاخطاء الشباب. قضيه المراهقه هي مرحله يكون الانسان فيها حريص على انه ما يجرح مشاعر ابنه. مشكلتنا انه احيانا نعامل ابنائنا وكأن احنا يعني يوصل الانسان الى انه يتخيل نفسه انه استغفر الله العظيم رب اكثر من اب. يعني بعد سن ال 13 بعد سن البلوغ انت اب، واجبك النصيحه تاخذه معك الى المسجد، لكن لا يجب ان الانسان يعني يخلي الابن اذا ما دعالهش ابوه خلاص ما بيروحش المسجد. لابد انك تبني في ابنك انه مسؤول. وقت الصلاه الابن يروح المسجد. نعم.
على اساس يكون بعد المكلف والمسؤول.
ايوه، لذلك من الاشياء الذي لا يواجهها الناس في حلقات القران انه بعد سن معين الاولاد ما عاد يروح سن حلقه القران.
الرقابه الذاتيه ان الله سبحانه وتعالى تحسب الرقابه الذاتيه. انا ما عرفت اسمعك دائما انا
نعم بارك الله فيك. هذه هي الفكره انه
هذا التربيه الناشئه.
ممتاز. لا يعني ان الانسان يتخلى عن النصح لابنه. طبعا تنصح ابنك الى ان يتوفاه الله، تنصح ابنك واخوك وغيره، لكن قضيه ان تغرس في ابنك المسؤوليه انه مسؤول عن دينه هذا هو الذي يجعل من الانسان ناجح. لانه احيانا الشده في التربيه بعد سن البلوغ يعني ليست نظريه عامه، لكن قد تخلق يعني كل ما عملت اني خلقت منافق. الاشياء اللي كان يعملها في وجهك صار يعملها خلفك وانتهى الموضوع. فلا بد انك تبني رقابه ذاتيه عن الابن بحيث يكون هو مسؤول عن افعاله. ايضا الامر قبل الاخير اللي ذكرناه للشباب قضيه القناعه. من المشاكل اللي يواجهها مجتمعنا بشكل عام انه ما فيش قناعه. كل ما اخذ الانسان سياره يشتري سياره احسن، وكل ما اشترى بيت يشتري بيت احسن. قضيه ان يقتنع الانسان بما لديه، ان فتح الله عليه اتى باحسن منها والا فيقتنع بما عنده. وذكرت لهم ايضا من الامثله اللي ممكن يعملوها انهم يبحثوا عن الناس الاغنياء بالانترنت ويشوفوا ايش لابسين. ما مش كل الاغنياء لابسين النايكيز والجوردن والاندر ارمر والاديداس، يعني بتشوفهم لابسين اشياء بسيطه. قضيه القناعه بما عندك امر مهم. والامر الاخير ايضا تكلمنا عن الصبر. ان الانسان يعود نفسه انه يتحمل، ما يكونش مجرد شيء بسيط يخرجه عن نطاق العقلانيه وغيرها. So we go back to everyone now. You guys, if you have a question or a point that you want to discuss with the group, raise your hand, bring it up. الذي معه سؤال ولا مشاركة. Yes. The what?
The Sheikh died when he was 63.
I'm sorry, say that again. The what?
The Sheikh died when he was 63.
I don't know what that is. What is it?